Good evening and welcome to Friday's Live with me, Raj Nayak. This evening, I have someone who has changed the narrative for women actors in India. She is a trailblazer and a trendsetter. My guest this evening is the courageous, the bold, and the beautiful, an amazingly talented actor, Vidya Balan. Vidya, thank you for being on this live chat.
My pleasure, absolutely.
And you're looking gorgeous.
Thank you, and it's so good to see you. It's been a while.
I know. So what have you been up to?
Lots of things. Of course, during the lockdown and stuff, one was pretty much at home, but I had a release as soon as things opened up. So I had Shakuntala Devi release on Amazon Prime. So I had a unique experience of promoting the film just digitally, this time around. And then, of course, work has been happening on and off. I completed a film that I had started before the pandemic hit, which was Cherny. I completed that, and then now ad film shoots happen. A lot of virtual events happen. It's all happening.
When is Cherny releasing? Any idea?
I hope by mid this year, though I don't have a date yet.
Okay.
And let's see where Cherny will release. We'll have to wait and watch to see if things open up, how soon things open up in terms of theaters.
So Shakuntala was such a fabulous movie. I mean, you're fabulous in every movie that you act.
Thank you.
But having said that, I just wanted to ask you, how was it that, it was not released in a theater, right? It went directly to OTT platform.
Yeah.
So
it was very different. I think, one, it took the pressure of box office numbers off my shoulders. But at the same time, it is your baby. You want to know that people are watching it and that people are liking it. And this time around, we got reactions instantly. For example, I had been promoting it crazily for 2 weeks. Yeah. So the night it released, I didn't watch it. And I was going to watch it with my family the next day. So I just went to bed really, hoping that people watch it. Raj, it was quite crazy because I started getting messages from people. The moment I woke up, I saw that people had watched the film at midnight, when it had just dropped. So the reaction is quite instant. And then the reaction is also prolonged because people are watching it at their convenience.
Exactly.
And even now I get messages. There are people who are even watching it now.
Yeah.
Because now they can watch it whenever they want to. If they didn't, it's not time bound, right? So you can just.
Yeah, I think one of the big advantages, I think this appointment viewing is going away.
Yeah.
And secondly, what happens is when it's released in a theater, that euphoria is there for 1 week or 2 weeks, and people either are not able to make it, then they miss the movie, then they are waiting for when it will come on OTT or satellite, and by which time it's got, the kabolte, it's become a little cold. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
With an OTT, it's continuously, the momentum is there. And I've got a huge challenge, right? I mean, I like to consume content, and I'm like, I've got to watch this, and then you're making a list and then prioritizing, because
right. That's a good problem to have.
That's a good problem.
Considering, I think I want to say a big thank you to the OTT platforms for their existence, because I think a lot of us got through the lockdown because content was available there. Imagine if we didn't have that. I think what it has also done is it's democratized content in many ways. Even a lot of new people, an opportunity to get into the industry, which otherwise, your own struggles, right? It isn't easy for somebody to just get in. I think it is, whether it is actors, whether it is technicians, directors, it's opened up a huge ocean of opportunity. Yeah, and just the volume of work.
Yeah.
I feel so happy that so many more talented people are finding employment.
True.
Because you can be talented and not get any work. But like you're saying, it has democratized the process in that sense, for sure.
So your short film, which you recently did, it's gone to the Oscars, right?
Yes.
So how do you feel about it?
You know, it was up for nomination, but we didn't make it to the final list. But whatever it is, I'm so glad and so grateful that we made it as far as we did. It felt wonderful, yeah, because it was just a passion project, you know. When Shan Vyas, the director, and Anukampa, the writer, came to me, they said, you know, this is a story. And I was like, wow, I loved it. And I said, oh, it's a 30-minute film. How many days will you need to shoot? And they said 3 days. And I said, okay, you know, I have 3 free days. Let me do it. This is something I believe in. So it was just one of those things that I did. And then it came, you know, it got so far. That's a great feeling, yeah. But I just hope many more people watch this film. It is a difficult watch because it makes you confront the hard realities of life for most women. But I think it's something that everyone must watch, or I'd at least hope that they do.
Yeah. And Vidya, you have always been a proponent, you know, of women empowerment, and you've taken up women issues. And this movie by itself, the short film that you've done, where does it all come from? I mean, you always like this?
You know, I think I didn't want anything to limit me in life, least of all my gender. It's something I have no control over. Sure. You know, I was born with this. So I just feel like if I want to fly, I should be able to fly. And I think we were given wings by my parents, my sister and me, you know, to just dream, to be who we are. So I feel there were no limitations in our mind because of gender. So I think, therefore, that has guided my choices. You know, that's why I am the way I am. You know, it's not to, I think it's also to, I think empowerment is a lifelong process, you know, not just for women, that much more for women, but also for men, for human beings.
Oh, very true.
Yeah, on a day-to-day basis, I think we're empowering ourselves, you know, trying to be more authentic. Actually, to me, empowerment equals authenticity. You know, so I think I feel like I'm trying each day to empower myself a little more. So there's no larger agenda or anything, but along the way, if, you know, through the stories I tell, or
you're able to touch a few people's lives.
Yeah, touch a few people's lives, give them courage at a time when they need it, then great. Yeah. It's the icing on the cake.
That's so nice of you, Vidya, because you're an inspiration to many people. And you touched upon your parents. And I think, you know, all of us are who we are because of our parents.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me a bit about them. Tell me about your dad and your mom.
So my father has been in HR throughout his career with various organizations. He's currently, you know, with a financial consultancy firm called MFA. And my mother's been a homemaker throughout, but a homemaker with a passion for life. You know, I think if she had the right opportunities, she may have, I think, stepped out and done a lot. She may have been an actor for all I know. I don't know. Actually, she wanted to be a singer. I think she sings beautifully. But I don't think there was ambition, and I don't think there was awareness that there could be ambition, because the situation was not such, you know. But I think, therefore, they both felt, they come from, my father especially had a very trying childhood, where after my grandfather passed away, the family went through a deep financial crisis. They were cheated of all their wealth and property by another family member, by an extended family member, and they went through very tough times. But, you know, I think the way my grandmother single-handedly brought up the family with very strong self-worth despite lack of resources is really admirable. And today all of them are, you know, all of them have done the same thing, given their children the opportunities that they did not have. I'm talking about my father and his siblings. Similarly, my mother, she grew up without a mother. Her mother passed away when she was very little. So I think her focus was on being the mother she did not have. So, you know, I think that they both were, they therefore felt that they needed to give us everything that they did not have. I think that's the story of most parents, right?
That's true.
And yeah, and of course, I feel that my parents are the best, but they're the best parents I could have hoped for. Everyone's parents are special, but I'm very grateful for the upbringing I've had, the freedoms both my sister and I have experienced throughout life, because of which we could just charter our unique courses and, um, you know, just um, walk with our heads held high at all times. You know, because especially at girls, that's so important. We've never really been scared or feared taking up new challenges, or I think that comes from the confidence my parents have instilled in us.
Yeah. And you have two daughters, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can relate to it because I've got two daughters.
Oh, wow.
I can relate whenever you speak. I mean, I can relate to what my parents did for me. And like you said, we want to do the best for our children, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely.
And what does your sister do?
My sister's in advertising.
Oh,
She's with, her name's Priya. She's with Malin Lintas. She's been in advertising for a long time, except for the time when she had her kids. She took a 5-year, 6-year break. But otherwise, she's been with Lintas and now Malin Lintas. She's in client servicing. And yeah, yeah, she's doing really, really well for herself, and I feel very proud. She's someone I've always admired and looked up to. She's always been my hero, you know. And now I feel like, Raj, she's been such a huge influence in my life, because um I feel like whatever she does, she commits herself to it 100%. You know, in all the roles she's played and continues to play in her life. She has twin kids who are 9.5 now, Ira and Ruhan, a girl and a boy. They're my lifelines, really. But she's the most well-spoken woman I know. Um, she's the most, you know, well-read, well-accomplished woman I had the privilege to know firsthand. You know, it's amazing.
and who's the elder one?
Priya,
Yeah.
she's 4 years older.
Yeah. You said she's my hero, so I should have guessed that.
No, that's okay. You can even I think you can look up to your younger sibling also.
I'm sure if my younger daughter is watching today, she'll be thinking, yes, that's true. You know?
Right.
So I noticed something in common, you know. I mean, I was just thinking about it and I realized so many things in common between you and me. And this is happening with more and more of my guests. Uh,
Really?
yeah, I realized that you lived in Chembur on 11th.
Did you live in Chembur?
I lived on 13th Road. When I came to Bombay, I was staying as a PG in 13th Road in Chembur. And you're a Capricorn. I'm a Capricorn.
When's your birthday?
Second, just after yours.
Oh my God. And I lived on 11th Road in Chembur, the lane right next to Chembur Church. I spent a large part of my life there.
Yeah. So you know, one of my guests was Shankar, right? So I was speaking to Shankar and Anil, and you know, it brought back so many fond memories. And then I was like, just casually checking, and I said, "Oh, Vidya is also born in Chembur."
Yeah. But to me, it's not even surprising. I think the best people come from Chembur.
Yeah. So, that's true, and I can go back and talk about so many things, but
Right.
So tell me where it all began. I mean, how did you get into movies?
You know, I watched Madhuri Dixit in Ek Do Teen, and I fell in love with her. I wanted to be junior Madhuri Dixit, so I would play Ek Do Teen. My parents wouldn't allow us to buy cassettes, you know, film songs and things like that. But this, they allowed us. I remember Kayamat Se Kayamat Tak and Tezab were on the same tape on side A and side B. And we bought that, and my sister would keep listening to QSQT. I would keep listening to Ek Do Teen. We had a big mirror at home. I would play the song and just keep dancing in front of it, thinking I was Madhuri Dixit. So that's where it all began. But everyone obviously thought it was a passing fancy, but that was not to be. Slowly but surely, I think I started realizing that this became kind of an obsession, and I realized that this is what I want to do. And one thing led to the other. And
how old were you then when this realization came?
I think I was 8.5.
Wow. That's
8.5. Yeah. I've never wanted to do anything else, really.
okay. But at that age, did you tell your parents about that? Because
yeah. And of course, they thought, every child wants to be an actor
yeah.
at some point. So they thought it was one of those things. But I remember I wrote a letter to Satyajit Ray when I was in the 9th standard.
Mm-hmm.
He was unwell around that time, and I think the Illustrated Weekly had carried a big piece on him. And I read that and I felt like, oh my God. And then they were also showing his films on TV for some reason. I not for some reason, because I think he was honored with the Lifetime Achievement, the Oscar for Lifetime Achievement. And they began to screen his films on Doordarshan, and I was watching it and I said, oh my God, I want to work with him. So I wrote him a letter. And of course, before I could post it to him, he passed away. So I think they thought कि अरे ये कुछ तो है, मतलब she's carrying it a bit far now. But yeah, that's how it continued. And then I began to watch every film I possibly could, because the only day we were allowed to watch films was on Sundays. They would you would have a non-Hindi film in the afternoons and a Hindi film in the evening, and my mom would decide whether we were allowed to watch that film, and I would watch it. And that was really my interest was developing. So that's where it all began.
And when you told your parents, what was the reaction? Because you come from a conservative South Indian family, right?
Yeah, I would say not conservative, yes, traditional for sure.
Sorry.
But, when I told them, they were like I told you, they thought this will fizzle out. But when it didn't, I remember my mom was very concerned. She told my dad, you can't keep quiet. What is this? Just tell her acting is not for girls from our families. It's just... if my father was in your place, he would have given her one tight slap. And my father said, we'll cross the bridge when we come to it. She's just saying it. God knows what she's going to do in life. But so she was very scared because of all the things you'd heard about the film industry. But I don't know if there was any truth to that.
Yeah. So how did you go about it? How did you pursue one? Because did you have contacts in the film industry?
Not at all. We come from a non-film family, and I knew no one from films. And my sister had joined advertising, and so we knew a little bit about the advertising world, which was also a world we were unfamiliar with. But now we were beginning to understand that. But film industry, though, no one. So my parents were obviously scared, but after my 10th standard exams, I did a theatre workshop at Prithvi Theatre, which was a 2-month-long workshop. And at the end of it, we put on a play, and I was playing the lead role in it. And I remember my parents and my sister and all were quite amazed that I was doing this, but they still thought, oh, maybe she'll do theatre, because films was quite unimaginable, was quite unreachable for us. But then when I got into Xavier's, one of my friends read the notice board and saw that there was an opportunity for aspiring actors. So I remember I was at home, I was recuperating from a jaundice, and she called me and she said, listen, would you, sorry, from typhoid. So she called and said they're looking for new actors to be part of a TV show because the television boom was just happening. So she said, why don't you send in, I said, what do they want me to do? I'm happy to audition. So she said, no, you'll have to send in some pictures. So I told my parents, and then we went to a local photo studio, my mom, my sister and me. Jenny photo studio in Chembur. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And we went there with the best clothes I had, which was all the clothes that you would wear to weddings and all. And my sister did my makeup and she showed me how to pose. I did a few pictures and we sent it off to Raman Kumar and Minta Nanda, who were making a show called La Bellas. Sent it to them with a biodata written by my sister. I got called for an audition and thankfully I made it through the audition. So, I think one thing just led to another. So I really believe, Raj, that when you truly want something, it's what Paulo Coelho said, the universe conspires to make it happen. Yeah. So I didn't, I did whatever I could, and then the universe just kept aiding me. And continues to do so.
So you got into television first, right?
Yes.
So when did that first break into films come?
The first break into films came in actually 2000. I was after television, after the show that I spoke about, which never saw the light of day because it was for a channel that didn't take off. I did Hum Punch. I got an opportunity to audition for Ekta Kapoor, and she was casting for a daily soap. That didn't happen. But she selected me for Hum Punch, and I ended up doing Hum Punch for 1.5 years. I was still studying at Xavier's. And then I started doing ad films because I realized that, in Xavier's, attendance was a big issue. So, with ad films, you could shoot for a day, 2 days at the max. And it was great visibility, great money. So I was enjoying doing that. And for an ad film shoot, I'd gone to Chennai when I got asked whether I'd like to audition for a Malayalam film. So I called my parents and my sister and I said, they're saying there's a Mohanlal film that they want me to audition for. Should I? Normally my mom would have said no, but she's a huge Mohanlal fan. So she said, okay. And I auditioned and I got through. And I did. So it was in the year 2000 that I did my first Malayalam film, but it didn't get completed like my first television show because there was a fallout between the director and Mohanlal. So the film got shelved. I got signed on for a couple of other films. And when I say sign on, it's not literally because they didn't sign contracts. It wasn't as professional in those days. So I got confirmed for a few films, but I got replaced in those films because I felt like, if her very first film stopped midway, then I don't think she's very, I think they almost felt like I was a Panvati. So I got replaced in a lot of those films. And when I say a lot of those films, it was close to a dozen films over 3 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that was a very heartbreaking time. But like I said, I think it was probably preparing me for what was to come. I met Pradeep Sarkar on one of my ad shoots. And he said, I think on one of my ad shoots, and then I did a music video, a Euphoria music video for him. And at the end of the Euphoria music video, on the end of the first day of shoot, he said, I'll make a film with you. I'd just been through a spate of rejections and I thought, I couldn't have believed him at that point. But true to his word, he did make a film with me, and my very first film. So it is special. Before that, of course, I did do a Bengali film, a Bengali slightly artsy film, but a film that will always remain very special to me, Bhalo Theko.
So I want to pause here and ask you, it must have been, I know it's extremely difficult when you get a great opportunity, you're all excited, top of the world, and the film doesn't take off, and then say, okay, and you're signed for a dozen films, and then you get replaced. What did you learn from that experience? Because it's a big setback, right? And it can come in anybody's life. So, yeah. And it needs a lot of resilience.
Yeah, I realize that I'm a very resilient person. I realize that I have this never say die attitude. I realized that I don't give up easily. I realized I'm stubborn, and for good reason. I realized that I wanted to be an actor passionately, desperately, deeply, badly. Um, and I realized that I'm very, very patient.
Yeah. So it's nice that you said that, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who want to become actors, who are aspiring to become actors, and who may be going through some challenges, not necessarily in acting, but in other walks of life. And
Right.
I think it's a great learning here, that don't lose hope, stay focused, and if you really want to, like Vidya said, you want to pursue something, do it with all your heart, give it 100%, and the universe will conspire to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. 200%.
Did you speak Malayalam? When you took this role, Malayalam or Bengali?
Yeah, I didn't speak either language because I'm actually Tamilian from Kerala, though I was born and raised in Bombay. But so we speak neither Tamil nor Malayalam in the pure form. But I think because I was familiar, my parents speak Malayalam very fluently. I was familiar. We watched a lot of Malayalam films and all that, so I could pick it up. As far as Bengali was concerned, yes, I'd never had any experience of Bengali except watching a few films and Ray's films largely, and working with a few Bengali filmmakers. So again, there was a certain, I think I caught the tone, so to speak. But I did try to dub for the film and didn't manage to. So I swore to myself that I will learn the language, and in the future, if I ever did a Bengali film, I would dub for myself. I've not had the opportunity to do another Bengali film, but whenever I do today, I know that I'd be able to dub for myself. Unless, of course, I was playing a rustic character, but then the Bengali would be very different. I don't know. I think my Bengali would be very urban and yeah, but otherwise I'd manage.
So you had a big successful run. I mean, of course, there have been ups and downs even in your Hindi film thing.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, how how do you choose your roles? I mean, what do you look for in a script when you're choosing your roles? Because when you look at your trajectory and you look at some of the films you've chosen, they've been completely all different kinds. It's a variety of films and women-centric roles. So what do you look for when a script comes to you? What is it that you do? How do you go about choosing your films?
It's almost always an instinctive decision. So when I'm hearing it or reading it, I know if I want to play this character and tell this story. But sometimes other considerations come into play. You feel, no, I don't connect with it entirely, but I want to work with this director. Or, something like that. But over time, I've realized that there should be no other considerations attached. It should just be about whether you connect with the role, the story, and the director and producer. That's very important because these people really, the director and producer, are very, very crucial to the process. So besides connecting with the content, I need to know that I'd be comfortable working with these people, that I'd buy into their vision, that I trust them with, making the film the way it's meant to. So, but those considerations come later. It's almost always about the story or the character calling out to me.
Did it ever bother you initially? I mean, of course, now you had successes and things, but taking on a women-centric role, and because it was known that it's almost movies are male-dominated and things like that. Very few
Right.
are made, and I think you said the narrative now, and more films are being made.
Right.
Women in the lead now. But at that particular moment, did it ever bother you at any stage? Were you a little nervous or scared?
No, I wasn't nervous or scared at all. I was like, oh my God, like when Ishkia was offered to me, I remember there were naysayers who said, you shouldn't do a film like this. It sounds slightly hatke, and anyway, it's too early in your career to be taking up a role like this. You should be doing the fluffier roles if you want to establish yourself as a star and all that. But I think the actor within me just jumped when I was offered Ishqiya. I was waiting for an opportunity like this, you know, the femme fatale, because so far I'd only done roles which were of the girl next door, you know, and this was a completely different dimension. So I just felt like, wow, I should be doing it. But also because I would, I would find it damn annoying that I was always spoken about in the context of the hero in the film. Before that,
True.
it was always about being the romantic interest of so and so hero, and I would be like, you know, why don't we tell stories about female heroes, you know, sheroes, like you had. I know that Sridevi and Simran in the South, they were actors on the basis of whose names films were sold at a certain point in time. And we've had loads of glorious female actors. You know, so I would be like, why is this, you know? So I think there was that little voice in me, that there was a part of me that was very annoyed at having to contextualize myself in that, needing the man to contextualize my existence or my identity. So I think when I got opportunities like this, it was like, oh wow, this is substantial. She's a protagonist, she's a hero, and I'm going to do this.
Amazing. And fabulous roles that you've done, and some great movies. I've not missed a single movie of yours, Vidya.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's great to know. Thank you.
And my sister's name is Vidya, just so that if she's watching this in Bangalore, she'll feel happy that I mentioned it.
Hi, Vidya. I hope she is watching it.
Yeah. So this was so of all the movies you've done, I know it's a very tricky question. I can't say which you enjoyed the most. I mean, that would be, or I'm sure you enjoyed all the movies and things like that. Any anecdotes from any of these movies that you would like to say?
Oh my God, you know, in that sense, there are anecdotes from every film, but
something you never told before.
Let me quickly skim through the films. Vanita, Munna Bhai, you know, I remember when I was doing the Dirty Picture and Kahani almost around the same time. We were trying to get funding for Kahani. Shujoy had written this film with me in mind. We had been considering working together for a while, but nothing had really worked out, you know. And at this time, he narrated a one line to me, and I loved it. And he said, okay, you know, so I'm going to take you through this process, as in share with you the progress at every step of the way. And I said, great. So every time he'd write a scene or a couple of pages, he'd share it with me. So I had been very invested in this film. And then there came a time when, you know, there were some people who were not willing to work with me. There were some people who were not willing to work with Shujoy. But there wouldn't have been a Kahani without Shujoy. So, you know, I would have had it. The choice was either to do the film or not do the film. But I was so invested in it, you know, that there was no question of me not doing it. And at the same time, Shujoy was so invested in me playing this role that despite the fact that he was getting a very big banner to do the film, but a banner that wasn't willing to cast me for whatever reason, he took that choice, you know, to not make the film with them, even if it meant he wasn't going to make the film. So we stuck it out together. And finally, when the film got made and it became such a blockbuster, you know, I remember when I watched the film and came out, Raj, I literally hugged Shujoy and cried because I felt so proud of the film even before the film released. And then, of course, the film released and it did well and it earned us so much love, continues to earn us so much love. And sometimes we just speak about this and say that it couldn't have been made any other way. Sometimes when you're going through something, you feel like it's insurmountable, it's impossible. But now when I look back, I really feel that maybe if it was any other combination, of people, and I just don't mean Shujoy and me, even the rest of the team, there was a struggle every step of the way to make this film. And yet we went ahead and made it. And I feel that conviction, is the key to the success of that film. And I keep reminding myself of that time and again. This is a very, sometimes when you're in the flow of things, you just tend to forget some valuable lessons that you picked up along the way. And sometimes even when the world is not supporting you, you need to just remind yourself of these precious gems that you've collected over time.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I'm sure both Sridhar and you are not regretting it. I mean, you're saying, wow, this is the best thing we did of sticking with each other. And, it shows Sujay's amount of confidence in you and your trust in him. It's both.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
You need to
absolutely. Because, after that, people began to say Shiro and all that. But until then, they weren't saying that. Yes, I had a certain standing, but it was especially Kahani on the back of the Dirty Picture that made people feel that, these two films changed the game for the Hindi film heroine.
That's true. That's true.
So, or the female hero or the Shiro, so yeah.
Vidya, since the time you started and now, what has changed? What is the change that you've seen from the time you started to now? It's almost 2000, almost 2 decades.
Almost. I started in films in 2007.
Okay.
As in Parinita happened in 2007, but obviously my journey began much before that in television.
Yeah.
And
so
then
12 to 15 years, right?
Yeah. 16 years already in Hindi films and much more than that otherwise. But I think what's changed in films is I think we've gotten more professional. We've gotten more expansive. We've gotten more inclusive. We've gotten braver. These are really, it's so wonderful to note those changes. I remember in the early years of my career, I worked on films where there was no script.
Really?
And yet on my very first film, I worked with Pradeep Sarkar and Vinod Chopra, who are the most organized team you can possibly find. Everything was on paper before we went on set. So there were those kind of people, and there were still the old school people. But I think now the old school people have probably the old school just doesn't work anymore. Yeah. That, the certain haphazardness of not being prepared, of landing up on set, and all those things don't happen. Today, people are well prepared before they land up on set. Yeah. People give it a lot of thought. Actors put in a lot of preparations for the roles they play. Yeah. There is, I think, a more evolved method to the madness now.
Yeah, more evolved method to the madness.
Yeah.
And you think, and obviously a lot of scripts now are being written keeping a woman as the main protagonist. That's happening.
Yeah, that of course. And that's so wonderful to see, because like you said, in 2008, when I did Ishqiya, a lot of people said, I told you, right, that you shouldn't be doing this. It's too early in your career. It's a woman-centric film. And, they had an idea of female-centric films being like slightly maybe dull and boring even, because they felt like the pace would be slightly slower. You never associated a woman-centric film with being fun and exciting and all of that, because you didn't explore the woman as a human being. But slowly with that, over time, things have changed, especially with more and more female-centric films doing better business. It's opened up the horizon for us. And look at every female actor is doing a female-centric film. I hope someday we don't have to make this distinction and say female-centric film. But until then, sure. Yeah, I don't mind mentioning it.
No, great. And what are the changes you'd still like to see, if there is any?
No, I just hope that there are more number of, like I said, female-centric films, and I hope someday there is no distinction between a female and a male-centric film, and I hope we see, or we have as many big female blockbusters as we do have male, maybe more, and I hope we get a bigger chunk, bigger pound of flesh, so to speak. In terms of paychecks, I hope we command, 100 times what we do already.
I think it's a matter of time. I mean, it has to change.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. I mean, speaking about, I was just thinking, and there's one more thing common between us. I'm sure you know this, but Sid and I work together.
Yes, of course.
I was just thinking about it. So tell me, I'm just switching gears. Tell me a little bit about how you met Sid, and how did your romance happen, and how did you get married?
I met Siddharth at the Filmfare Awards. I had just received my Best Actress for Power, and I walked off stage and I was introduced to him because I just started shooting for a UTV film called No One Killed Jessica, but I'd never met him. So I got introduced to him, and but I had to leave immediately. So I got introduced to him, and I think at the back of my mind I thought, oh my God, really good looking guy. But I think the universe was conspiring to bring us together, because there were lots of films that both UTV and I were considering at the same time. So we ended up meeting through work at that time a few times. And then, of course, I think that was just an excuse, because except No One Killed Jessica and Ghanchakkar, we didn't end up working together. And we've chosen now not to work together anymore. So I think that's how it all began. And honestly, Raj, I don't know when we started seeing each other. We were, of course, there was, something was happening, something was brewing.
Chemistry.
But if you ask us when, when people ask me, so when did you all start seeing each other? And I have no clue. It seemed like a natural progression. It moved from one thing to the other. And thankfully, and here we are. It's been 8.5 years since we got married.
And Sid is a great guy, because I know him. And I have this incident to tell you. One day I'd walked to Amrapali in Juhu.
Yeah.
And he was buying a present for you. There were only two men in the shop. Me buying a present for my wife, and he buying a present for his wife. And so, yeah.
I love that. I didn't know that.
You will remember.
Whenever I ask him, oh, when did you manage to go and get my present? He never answers the question. He always says, I got it. That's what's important. So I never know when he sneaks to the store, to any store, to get me presents.
And Vidya, you just mentioned that you never worked together, and now you made a decision not to work together. Yeah. I mean, why is that?
I just feel that, because it would be difficult. Firstly, I don't think, I want to be the most important person in his life at any given point of time. If the film becomes more important than me, or if I feel like that, I think I'll feel if there are choices he has to make where I feel that, oh, I'm not top priority, maybe I won't be able to accept it. No, but jokes apart, I just feel it's healthier, So we share everything about our work, but I don't think, it's just, I think it helps you be more objective. It just, yeah.
You need some space. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. If it's shared space personally and professionally, I think it would get a bit tough, because we're both very passionate about what we do. So, which is why I was saying, if there are choices he has to make that make me feel like, he's putting the film over me, maybe I won't like it.
You mentioned, but I don't know, maybe one day there may be some great script and he'll say, nobody can do this but Vidya, and he may
No, you know, there have been instances in the past where we both liked a script. The directors approached him and the directors approached me, and then one of us has dropped the project.
Got it.
So, yeah, I think it's too precious to meddle with. Marriage is too precious to meddle with.
Yeah, no, touch wood. I mean, you've been married now for how many years? 8, 9?
8.5, yeah.
8.5 years, yeah. And I'm sure wishing you long, happy married life.
Thank you.
I'm moving a little. Who are your role models? I mean, nationally, globally, it doesn't matter. I mean, who are the actors you look up to?
As an actor, I love Charlie Chaplin. You know, I don't know how he did what he did. That kind of physical comedy is just unimaginable. And considering they were silent films, you know, they conveyed everything he wanted to convey. They moved you, they touched you, they made you laugh. So Charlie Chaplin, absolutely. There are lots of performances of various actors that I've liked over time, but not one actor that, maybe Sean Penn is the one actor, and Robin Williams is the other actor that have really touched me in every role they've played. Susan Sarandon,
Yeah,
Meryl Streep, of course.
my favorite.
Yeah, I'm sure. You know,
I was in love with her. I had a crush on her when I was growing up.
Really?
Do.
And she's so gorgeous, you know, but so good at everything she does. And of course, now there are many, many other performances. But in Indian cinema, there have been Shabana Azmi has been a huge influence on me. I loved her in Masoom and Arth, and I just loved the way she made everything real, you know. Jaya Bachchan, Meena Kumari, oh my God, so many. Rekha, Tabu, Sri Devi, my all-time favorite. Many, many more. I'm sure I'm missing on a lot of actors, but lots of performances of lots of actors have really inspired me.
Yeah, but all you've taken some great names, and someday, you know, the next generation, when they ask who inspires you, and they'll say Vidya Balan, you know.
Let's hope so.
So Vidya, what do you do? How do you de-stress yourself? What is it that you do when you got leisure time and you're not acting? Then what do you do?
I you know, just for me, it's sitting and watching the waves, because we live on the beach.
Yeah.
So I just love to de-stress like that. I need silence after a hectic day, invariably. So I don't like to watch anything or listen to anything. Yeah, and otherwise I've begun to read again now, which I'm very happy about, because for many, many years I'd stopped reading except scripts, and I was only watching stuff. There's so much to watch, right? But I like doing that. I love going for long drives. I love spending time with family. I enjoy doing healing work. I've been working with a healer for a long time now. So I love my healing sessions. Yeah, lots of things that just de-stress me. But most importantly, my niece and nephew also, Ira and Ruhan, they're just like, just one call to them and I forget everything.
You must be pampering them, the Masi that pampers them.
Yeah, absolutely. They can get me to do anything.
You mentioned something about healing. I mean, something that you're practicing? I mean, you're learning something? I mean,
No, not learning. I've been because I feel that there are so many issues we experience on a day-to-day basis, and especially as a public figure, especially coming from a family that was not used to it. I think, in the initial years, I didn't know how to process any of that. Everything felt very personal, especially when there was criticism or there were attacks, and it would affect me a lot. It would affect my health. And that's when my mom introduced me to a wonderful healer. And I've been working with her. So it's basically talking to her on the phone. We don't meet personally. And she's almost like what people would, so it's almost like being in therapy. Like being in therapy, you're speaking to a counselor. And she gives me tools with which to change my thinking or mindset at any given point of time. So things that I've accumulated over the years that have helped me really retain my sanity, have a positive outlook, look at the brighter side of things, just be present in the moment.
Yes. Be present in the moment.
Yeah.
I always tell people that this is it. You have to accept it. The moment you accept things,
Yeah.
problem goes away. You have
Yeah,
to,
absolutely.
this is what it is.
It's magical. I have realized over time that when you accept something, it loses its weight.
True.
It's no longer a burden. It just somehow moves after that. There's a certain fluidity. You begin to, I think there's a certain flow to life then. But because we are so rigid and we're holding on to a certain concept of things, and when things don't go our way, then, it unsettles us. I think it's just, it's very harmful. But when you accept it, that acceptance frees you.
Yeah, very true. And I think a lot of people in India still, bottle up, they keep it within themselves, they don't share. And I think it's very important, and of course now things are opening up, but I think it's very important that you speak to somebody, and get an outside perspective, which will help you get rid of rather than bottling up within.
Absolutely. And people keep saying that I speak to family, I speak to friends, but I think it's very important to speak to someone who's not emotionally invested in you.
Yeah, true.
Because then I'm not sure that person can be objective. True. And sometimes you just need someone not to furnish solutions. Solutions emerge. You just need someone to hear you out. And as you begin to say it aloud, the solutions emerge themselves. So I think sometimes if you're not so comfortable with speaking to anyone, just, record it on your phone, record whatever you're feeling on your phone. And then you'll realize by the end of it, you're feeling better, or write it down. All these things are helpful tools.
Very nice. I'm sure people who are listening to you now, I mean, if they have similar problems, they will at least, to start with, you can record yourself or start writing, and solutions will, at least you'll be aware of your problems. You'll be
right.
aware,
Absolutely.
So it's Women's Day in the next 8th of March.
Yeah.
Okay. And you are an icon for a lot of women in this country. So if you had to give them a message on Women's Day, what would that be?
That, you are the best and worst there is of you. So you have to make that choice. Perfection is an illusion. There is absolutely no truth to it. So don't aspire for it. Don't waste a moment trying to be what you think is perfect. And don't compare yourself to anyone. Be kind to yourself. Just spend as much time as you can in trying to love and accept yourself. There is no better investment in life. And I can say this to you firsthand. Like I said, I've been working with my healer, and this is a shout out to my healer, Nidhu Kapoor, for just showing me how, like you said, it's about acceptance, right, Raj? Yeah. When you love and accept yourself, and even if you can't fake it till you make it, just keep telling yourself that I love and accept myself just the way I am. and things will begin to change for you. The universe will actually make every dream and desire come true.
You know, when Alchemist was first released, and I read it, right? I read it 3-4 times and I loved it. And I must have, Paul Coelho should actually give me a royalty, because I must have bought at least 500, 600, 700 books.
Wow.
30 years, gifted it to people.
Yes, I love that book. I reread it recently, Raj.
Yeah, you can read it again and again, and every time you read it, you get a new meaning out of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's so magical. You
So-
know, just pick up a page and read something, and it'll give you probably an answer to what you're looking for.
Yeah, such a positive book. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Vidya, what makes you happy?
You know,
This is one question I ask all my guests. What is your definition of happiness? What is it that makes you happy?
I think everything and nothing. I don't know how to describe that, but I think I find joy in the smallest of things. When someone smiles a genuine smile, or when someone meets me warmly, when I've had a good day at work, when I've had a good meal, when I've had a good conversation, you know, like today, I'm enjoying this conversation. So that makes me happy. When I spend time with loved ones, when I feel appreciated, when I feel like I'm standing up for myself, when I feel like I'm using my voice, when I'm valuing myself, standing my ground, when I watch the waves, anything, just about anything. When I see a child, makes me very happy. When I read something good, when I watch something good, when I listen to lovely music. Sometimes it's just silence, you know, spending time with Siddharth, spending time with my loved ones. All these things, I think, just make me happy. And sometimes I feel really, you know, I said happiness, what makes me happy is everything and nothing. Because if you choose to focus on the not so correct things in your life, you know, whatever you do, it won't give you happiness.
True.
So it is a state of mind, and it's a choice. Happiness is a choice you make.
It's a state of mind, and happiness is a choice. And I liked everything that you said. You are such an amazing actor. I want to say that again. And your laughter is infectious.
Thank you.
And thank you for spending time. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this chat with you, Vidya, and wishing you lots more success and all the happiness in your life.
Thank you so much. I wish you the same and more. And a happy Women's Day to all the women who are watching, to the women in your life, Raj. And just, you know, thank you for this conversation. It's been so free-flowing and easy. And I love that Chembur connection. So I hope to meet you soon. And God bless. Take care. Thank you
so much. And to all of viewers who have watched this, and next week I'll come back with a new guest. Continue watching Fridays Live. That is what makes me happy. See you. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.